Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. So in our last stream, we managed to get this rig going. It's just very simple. Most of the animation is going to be relying on the grease pencil drawings. So I've just kept the rig very, very simple. Let me go back to this, make sure that's looking good. It looks alright. Good, good, good. Oh. Seems to be flickering. What's that about? Yeah, why is that flickering? Let me just disable this. Go back to normal live streaming. That'll do. There we go. Alright, so let's have a look at what the animation looks like. So far, just the roughs. So it comes up on the screen, creates a sword, throws it at enemy off screen, dodges something, and flies off. Cool. Simple. Let's start getting some key poses in here. I'm just going to save a new version. I need to turn on auto keying. Everything else should be fine. One thing I want though is this to appear in front. So I'll turn off auto keying briefly. Bring it all in front. There we go. I've got the wrong resolution again. Alright, no worries. No, I need to reduce the opacity of this material a bit. And I want to turn off onion skinning. Okay. So already this is going to look pretty broken, but that's okay. We're just really worried about pivot points of the objects. Making sure, oh, I forgot to disconnect all these bones. Okay, there we go. So now I can move that freely. I think that should be in front. Okay. And this will be slightly foreshortened, which means it's also in front. There we go. Looking good. That actually looks alright. Okay. Oh no. Okay. I almost lost everything. That's good. So that looks pretty bad at the moment compared to the default pose. But that's okay, because that's where we come in to fix things. First of all, though, I just want to create, at the end of the timeline, just a quick default pose. I need to select all of the grease pencil objects. So I'll open up all of the containers, select them all, duplicate the grease pencil drawing to the end of the timeline. Hey there, I'm glad you could join us again. Nice to have you here. I'm I'm hoping to finish this project before the end of the month so that I can make a video about it before the end of May, ideally. Hey there, I'm glad you could join us all the way from India. Thanks. Exactly. Only two live streams to get to animation. To be fair, I think I've cut a lot of corners in the rigging. For example, there's no different views or different angles. So rigging definitely was faster than it should have been if it wasn't such a small project. And as a result, the animation's probably going to take a little longer than if I had a more robust rig, but that's okay. I don't like the way this symbol is warping, so I'll just copy that. Do I have like a locked layer or something? What's going on? Oh, I selected only strokes. Okay. You want to learn animation Blender, but it doesn't import PSD files like Moho animation software. I think there are add-ons for that. Look up COA Blender add-on. So that's an add-on that that helps with cutout animation in Blender, and it does things like importing Photoshop files. In no worries. I just want to disable onion skinning entirely. There we go. Make sure what I'm seeing is actually what's on the current frame. This is strange. That's annoying. There we go. My cursor wasn't showing up. I've noticed sometimes. I don't know why, but sometimes when you have a window in full screen and you try and use your tablet, it doesn't work properly. Or like you can't see the cursor. So I've used this tiling add-on to make it so that it's almost full screen, but not actually full screen. Alright, it's looking good so far. Happy with that. Ah, I don't have the grease pencil tools add-on. Let me just search for that. It'll be under add-ons or something. Blender add-ons. Surely. Yes. Grease pencil nudge, no. I'm not sure. I'll just find it and download it again. Documents, Blender, add-ons, save. Okay, now edit, preferences, add-ons, install from disk, documents, Blender, add-ons, grease pencil tools, there we go. Let's box deform, oh wait. Box deform, there we go. Oh. There we go, roughly in shape. This is both the greatest strength and the greatest weakness of my current rigging style in Blender. On one hand, you can make your poses look exactly how you want. You know, no compromise because of a limited rig. It'll look exactly the way you draw it. The downside is you have to draw it exactly the way you want it to look. Which is, you know, time consuming, which is kind of defeats the point of cutout animation. But I guess that's why it's kind of like on a continuum between really limited animation on one end and frame by frame animation on the other end. You can do anything, but you have to do it yourself, basically. Yeah. It must be because I switched to Linux that I came up with this rigging system. Because that's basically the same situation with Linux. It's like, you can do whatever you want, but you have to do everything. I am interested to see how this works with like a line work style like this, because the last animation I did, which I really enjoyed doing, had like a really stylized character with no line work. In fact, I've done a couple animations with this rigging technique without line work. Although that one rig I did with the little professor character, that had line work, and that was actually a lot of fun to animate, so it should still work. Why is the sketch behind again? There we go. I might actually, hang on, I might redo that's not good. I'm just gonna redo this drawing of the arm. So line work. There we go. Color. Rather than filling it in, I'm just gonna... Oh, I need to be on fill mode. That's so annoying. I suspect it's for the best, but until I get used to it, that's really gonna get on my nerves. Actually, this I'm gonna redraw too. do the same thing here. Oh, actually, yeah. With the line work, redrawing this hand to fit the sketch. Gonna copy the ring over to here. So far, so good. You also recently updated the first 3 seconds. What? The first 3 seconds. You love the new filing way, but now you just prefer going back to when you started to paint because your muscle memory just cannot deal with the new way. Right. First 3 seconds. I love. Alright, I see what you mean. forgot. I need to switch thingamabobbers. Keep selecting the sketch. I'm just going to turn off its selectability. There we go. Can't select it anymore. Lovely. Still very happy with this hand. Drew it the other day and I knew I was going to like it. It's already almost there. Just the legs to do now, I think, for this pose. And this symbol is still askew. That's the default pose. That's the new pose without new drawings, and that's the new drawing so far. Almost there. Is this one gonna need a new drawing? I think it will, unfortunately. One thing I've neglected is this thing. This needs to move up. Yeah, that looks better. Lovely. Now let's delete a couple of those points. Lovely. Yeah, no worries. I understand. Yeah, I can understand it's definitely difficult. Thanks for joining the stream, Teddy. Glad you could join us. Now, the sketch has this leg looking a bit different, but I actually like how that looks as is. Look at that. That's looking good. I can get rid of that in between keyframe. Oh, we can get rid of that in between keyframe. And we can also move that back a bit. Okay. I should have rigged up the face a bit better. It's okay. I can come back and do that. Okay, I was a little worried about how long this was gonna take, but I'm already experiencing the efficiency of using a rig rather than doing frame by frame. Because if you think about it like this, sure, it took a long time to get that first pose, maybe even longer than if I were to draw it myself. But can you imagine if I did all of these subtle movements frame by frame? Oh, that would have been rough. Like, this is great. We've only been going for 48 minutes. And we've already got a pretty good proof of concept for how this process is going to work. Yeah, exactly. It's really the in-betweening part that saves time. That's probably why it's my favorite part of the process. I'm gonna need to redo that symbol at some point in this animation. But for now, that's fine. Probably should have just redrawn this torso, but it looks okay now. What do you think about getting a Microsoft Surface for drawing on Blender, because you really want one device for everything, even if you have to use the mouse and keyboard or another for rendering? Yeah, I've heard really good things about Microsoft Surfaces. They seem good. They even have good Linux support, ironically. Another thing to consider would be Framework. Framework makes really cool laptops, and they make their Framework 12-inch laptop has a stylus and a touchscreen, and it can flip over into like a tablet mode. So that's really good too. They tend to be quite pricey for what they are, but then they're infinitely repairable, so it might save you money in the long run. Lovely. Yeah, but you haven't heard anything about how it feels or how good it is on the Framework 12. And the Surface has an ARM chip and supposedly more efficient than Intel AMD for at least date of use. Yeah, maybe Microsoft Surface would be better for what you need. I hear that ARM chips tend to have better battery life, although they don't actually. I think the ARM versions of Microsoft Surfaces don't have good Linux support. But if you're happy on Windows, then that should be a great option for you. Framework doesn't ship. Yeah, no. That's fair enough. I just recently got an email telling me that they've started shipping to New Zealand, and I was like, oh no, I just bought a refurbished laptop. Because I wanted a laptop for like writing and just general use, and I bought a really cheap ThinkPad, and it's good. It's perfect for what I need. But I'm like, oh, if I just waited a couple of weeks, I could have justified buying a Framework laptop instead. But yeah, it sounds like Microsoft Surface would be great for what you need. I really like that philosophy. A lot of people do, like, they have remote drawing stuff with like an iPad or something. Personally, I'm like, oh, I couldn't use a mobile operating system for serious art. You know, it's like how people say, oh, if you're gonna buy a plane ticket, it has to be on a laptop screen because that's a big screen activity. You can't do that on your phone. I think it's kind of the same for me with art. I'm like, whoa, you can doodle on your phone or a tablet or something. You can't do serious art on it though. Now, obviously, that's not true. Many people make full careers drawing on their iPads, but I couldn't do that. Whereas using something like a Microsoft Surface would be much more doable for me. longest time, you actually used a Tab S8 Ultra from Samsung with an app. Can't remember the name. Use it for your extra display for your computer. Works surprisingly well. That's interesting. Using a phone as like an external display. That's not a bad idea. Because like to me, my objection with using a mobile device like a tablet or a phone isn't to do with the actual hardware, it's to do with the operating system. I'm like, I don't want to use a mobile operating system. But if you're using a phone as like an external display and it's like recognizing as a tablet of some kind, then that's awesome. To each their own though. These days use an Artist Pro 24 Gen 2 XP pen. Yeah, no, I love definitely larger tablets can, I don't know, it gives you a sense of freedom to just draw big smooth lines. Although I used down in Christchurch, I have a larger tablet that I bought secondhand, like quite big, and I really enjoy drawing with that. And if I was doing mostly drawing, like if I was an illustrator or something, I probably would want to use something like that. However, in animation, I actually really like these 13-inch screens, or I think this is 13-inch too. So at work, I have my old secondhand Cintiq 13 HD, which, when was that even released? Because I feel like that was forever ago. That was released in 2013. Wow. 13, that's 13 years ago. So yeah, that's my tablet that I use at work, and at home right now I'm using the Huion tablet that I did a review of a couple years ago. So I got this one for free, which was nice. You use your tablet as a graphics tablet. The touch doesn't work, but for drawing it's enough. You use your tablet as a graphics tablet. So it's not like you've got all your drawing files on your tablet, but like you're just using it plugged into your computer. That's clever. I like that. Can't argue with the price of free. Yeah, no, it was a good deal. I think at the time when I did the review, I was also impressed with the price of the product. But yeah, free is always good. Kelly, thank you. Thanks for your generosity again. Much appreciated. Thanks for joining the stream. Always a pleasure. Sketchy, if you brought in a character from a vector program with views of 360 degrees, how would you get it to interpolate in Blender? Or would you think the snap happens so fast that's not important, like in the head turn? Yeah, I know that Grease Pencil has some interpolation features, but it kind of is dependent on how you draw it. So for example, if your frame 1 looks like this and frame 2 looks like this, it'll interpolate nicely. But if your frame 1 looks like this and your frame 2 looks like this, just because you drew it in a different direction, it'll like flip around. So if you import different views from a vector program, it's unlikely that it's gonna link up the correct objects, and the interpolation will look really bizarre. However, like you say, most of the time, you can animate and just snap the different views. And so long as you have some strong easing in and easing out of the different views, it'll still look good. So for example, at work, we're using a Toon Boom rig, and it can interpolate reasonably well between the different views, but often, like particularly the profile view, if you interpolate between a 3/4 view and the profile view, it'll look really bad. So we tend to just snap between them, and it looks great. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. This needs to go up like this. For what it's worth, buying a consumer tablet that can be used for work and play makes a lot of sense for some people, like the Tab S8 Ultra and even the Ultra model, since it has a 14-inch screen. If you use it with the app you can use it as an extra screen and have a 14-inch graphics tablet and touch support. With a Wacom-based pen, definitely viable for a lot of people. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, especially if you're like early on, or no, it can make sense for a lot of different people. I think it's really just my own personal convictions that I'm like, oh, I don't want to do things like that. But no, it's definitely a great solution for a lot of different artists, especially if you want to have a tablet for other uses, like just browsing the internet and such. It's a great way to go, well, I can use this for professional work and also just general other stuff, you know? And that's absolutely valid. I think it also. I think what I don't necessarily like is when people buy something like an iPad not because it's the right thing for their situation, but because that's just what they've seen other people do. And it's like, if you already have a tablet or an iPad or whatever, and you can use it to do awesome art stuff, yeah, don't spend, extra money on a graphics tablet. Just use what you have if it's already a great solution. But then, of course, there are other people who it is still worth buying something like a consumer tablet. But I just don't like it when people go, oh, my friend who introduced me to art uses their iPad, so I'll buy an iPad, and it's like, yeah, it'll do the job, but now you're stuck with an iPad that was like just as expensive as a really good graphics tablet, but you've got all these limitations now. Now, one thing I want to do is I want to give this green a line work color, and then I want to assign these to that material. There we go, look at that. That's what I want. How do I keyframe type? So it's just R. Okay, cool. So I'm going to set this R keyframe. R keyframe. They're already keyframes. I'm going to set these though to breakdowns. And then I can see there's a visual difference. Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people jump into things without really thinking about their own situation, which is fair enough. Sometimes you don't want to overthink things, but yeah, it's definitely better to find the best solution for you. In any case, I wanted to offer my sincere thanks for your tutorials and content. Blender was a bit intimidating and I struggled for a while to find something that really hooked my brain. Now you love using Blender, so again, thanks. Oh man, I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know. I'm really glad that my content's been able to be helpful. Yeah, and it's just nice to see more people using open source software. It's great, especially Blender. Yeah, really glad to hear that. Oh, I accidentally. That didn't crash. I pressed the keyboard shortcut to close Blender. Oh, that crashed. What was that? Oh no. Maybe it did crash. Okay, well that's still openable. Oh no, okay. Let's put this on top. What happens? This is not good. Thanks to you, you know how capable Blender is of 2D, and I want to, and everything. Now you want everything cooking in a blender. Yeah, thanks. What is this? What's going on here? gonna use AI again. Right. Blender crashed and seems to have corrupted the file I was using. This was the output in terminal when trying to open the file. This is not good. The browser's glitchy. Oh, that's annoying. I'll just move it off screen. I think it's a problem with the resolution that I'm streaming at. YouTube's screaming at me saying I'm recording at 2728 by 1536, but it's expecting 2560 by 1440. So I just need to remember to change that next time I go live. Hopefully that'll fix the browser issue, but so I need I'll check in the autosave. Blender. Oh, that's not a bad idea. I can open up Blender again and append data from the broken file. Okay, Blender is not opening. Why is it all broken? Moving that up here. Okay, I'm gonna make a new 2D animation. Delete that file. Append from Documents 2026 YouTube GLB Make version 3 collection. Howlig. Let's append. And it crashed. No. No. Okay. Where are you guys? You're over there. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the AI and tell it what's happened. Okay. The dot blend 1 does exist, but seems to be corrupted as well. There's nothing in the temp directory, at least nothing Blender related. And when I try to import or append the collection to a new file, Blender crashes again. I don't think I can open an older version of Blender because in Blender 5.1 they overhauled how Grease Pencil works. It was looking good while it lasted. Now instead of animating, you have debugging why it doesn't work. Yeah, 5.2 is only 4 months away at least. Yeah, I just wish that 5.1 was stable. Man, I haven't had this many crashes or like botched files in forever. I don't think I've ever had it so unstable. Come on. Okay. That's something. It appended a something. Ah ha ha ha! Okay, we might be able to rebuild this. File. Append. Arm2. That created a new armature. It couldn't figure out that I wanted to do both of them on the same armature. Let's see what happens when I apply all of these grease pencil objects. Oh, that doesn't look good. Yeah, okay, so clearly there's an object in there that is broken. Let's do 2D animation. Append. Object. Let's just do up to here. Okay. Let's do everything past that point. So just these. Okay, that all worked. So clearly it's in the first half. It's the chest. Okay, the chest is corrupt. Fine, I'll have to reanimate the chest. That is annoying, but this is fine. Oh, yeah, actually, good point. Hopefully it is only one object. I probably should test by appending everything except the chest. Okay, that's promising. That's very promising. Oh, well, this is not so bad, because honestly, I wasn't happy with how the chest was looking. Yeah, exactly. I wanted to redraw the chest. This is the perfect. It's like, you know, I was being too lazy, and so Blender said, "Come on, you can do better." Oh, finally. Okay. That's not good though. This isn't. Like, I don't want that to happen again. I guess I'll just have to. Oh, that kind of looks glitchy up there. Is that still glitchy for you guys? Hopefully not. Anyway. Hopefully, it'll be okay. Okay, so now I need to append the chest from the version that is not corrupt. So version 2, object, chest. Lovely. Get rid of that. Parented here. Actually, I'll go over here. That was, there we go. Perfect. We're practically there now. Is it still glitchy? Let me just see if I can. If I say stop streaming, the live stream will end. That's not what I want. Alright, I think I'll just have to. I'll look into why it's so glitchy. Oh, why is it so glitchy? It's even glitchy in. Why would I do that? Maybe that'll fix it. So I've set it so instead of recording the whole screen, it's just recording Blender. Hopefully that'll fix it. I'll keep that in mind if I want to show you anything else, but it seems to have fixed the glitchiness. Yeah. Alright, yeah, sorry guys for the glitchy stream. I don't know what's been going on lately. I'm also feeling quite tired at the moment, so I think once I've got back to where I was, I think we might be calling it there. Is that still what it looks like? Goodness, I hope not. No. It was just replaying a bad part of the stream. It's okay. Now it's fixed? Okay, good. So yeah, must be something wrong with OBS, and it's not good at recording the screen, or might still be that resolution issue, I'm not sure. I'll look into it. Okay, this is looking good so far. It's kind of cool. I can select what portions I want to be able to sculpt. I like that. Still using the whole day for less than 5 seconds of animation? Yeah. I don't know if animation will ever come quite far enough to overcome the fact that it's just time consuming. Although, to be fair, if I had a whole 8 hours with the rig being done, I reckon, yeah, I could get the shot done in a day. What's my rate? Let me just look at my last invoice. $2026. Would be freelance? Muck Putty? Invoice number 11. My current rate is $33.25 per hour. I was, last year when I was doing like freelance work, I would get paid quite a lot more than that actually. But that was for shorter contracts with less fun involved. They were like adverts and such, which is fine. But yeah. But that's New Zealand dollars, so it's not. So if you're like thinking in American dollars, then that would be about think about half of that. Some people on Reddit has made a fork of Blender port to iPad and updated it to the Alpha 5.2. Now I'm at the beginning again, or what to buy. Yeah, so I didn't know that. That's great. I mean, isn't that awesome? The joys of open source. Even when the official people decide to give up on the iPad, somebody out there's like, no, we can do this. Okay, this is the perfect opportunity to get to redraw the chest. But first, let me just save a new version, just in case. Because I do not want to do that again. So that's around 6.4k New Zealand. Not too bad, I think. And you can afford living at that cost? Absolutely, I can. In fact, I kind of stopped recently because it hasn't been doing so well. But I've been able to. My living expenses are very low for living in Auckland, like unusually low. So I've actually been able to put away 50% of my income just for savings. So yeah, no, I've been very lucky with my job and my rent and all these other things. It's been good. Yeah, 50 is it is a bit unusual. It's definitely not sustainable. Um, but yeah, no, I've been able to put a lot of money towards savings, which I'm really happy about. A lot of that has to do, though, with the fact that I've found an unbelievably low rent, and I keep all my other expenses really low. I only pay about $185 per week for rent, which is really unusual for Auckland. I do have 4 roommates though, or like flatmates, so it's, you know, there are trade-offs, but they're nice guys, so I'm happy. That's not a bad idea. If I can, I think if I can build up like a reputation as a solid freelance artist, and I can pay off my student loans, then moving somewhere with a really low cost of living would be amazing. Right now I'm really enjoying living in Auckland, so I'm quite content. But absolutely at some point I'd either like to move somewhere. Maybe I'd stay within New Zealand, but at some point I'd like to move somewhere that isn't as expensive as Auckland. You're doing animation too, but in Asia it's really low. Can you point me someplace to get a good paid job? Honestly, not really. I don't really. I'm still really early in my career, so I don't really have a good idea of how to get jobs consistently. I think if you're able to, at some point, briefly moving to a country that that has like a higher living wage, and then like network within that country, and then you can go wherever you want and have those connections still. But otherwise, you can still make those connections. It'll just take a bit longer. YouTube's going well. It's definitely not at a point where I could like go full time with YouTube. Not that I would really want to either. Like I enjoy making videos and I enjoy live streams as well. But I am definitely not a YouTuber. I'm an animator. However, I think I'm earning about $500 every year. So it's a long way off from being able to support me in any real sense. But it's definitely, if it's good to go, okay, I've got my insurance covered, you know, just from my YouTube. and I don't have to worry about that coming out of my other income. Exactly, enough to buy a new drawing tablet every year. I'm glad I don't do that. That would be a very poor use of my money. Why don't I open donations or Patreon? So, I mean, a couple of reasons. I feel like, now on one hand, I sort of have opened donations through like YouTube super chats and such, which, you know, I really appreciate. Don't get me wrong. I do really appreciate it. But also, I don't know, I feel like if I were to do a Patreon, particularly, I'd be like, I'd feel like I have to provide some sort of value specifically for Patreon. And I can't even make YouTube videos consistently, you know? So at least until I figure out a way to do this whole YouTube thing a bit more consistently, I don't really want to ask people to pay for the content, you know? Good. I almost messed this up. It's okay. Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. I do really try to produce good content for YouTube, but it definitely takes a lot of energy and a lot of time. I'm hoping to be able to find a way to either do it more consistently, like even if I'm only posting every couple of months or something, or find a way to still provide value without putting so much effort into every video. I need to do one of those two things. Because I remember in high school, this YouTube channel had very few subscribers. Well, I guess it really grew to where it is now in high school. But really the reason I was doing it wasn't for, you know, the income. It wasn't for the community even, because there wasn't much of a community, at least at first. It was just because it was like a creative outlet for me. I was doing all this boring schoolwork, and I knew I wanted to do animation, so I would document my projects, I'd show off what I'd learned on YouTube, and it was great. I enjoyed it a lot. And then that continued in university, where even though I was doing animation, I still needed like a creative outlet for, you know, stuff outside of my schoolwork. And YouTube was great for that. But then I started working professionally, and suddenly it's like, oh, you know, I work all day animating, and when I get home I don't want to animate, which isn't ideal, because I want to animate. And sometimes I'll have a project like this one that really excites me. So like I was talking to my dad about this, about making the whole remaking a 10-year-old animation, and he didn't like the idea that much. Like it was okay, but he thought I'd be better off doing some other project. But the problem was I wasn't making any progress on these other projects. So I realized I just needed to start something. I just needed to start something that I was gonna enjoy, and so that's why I started this project here. And I have been enjoying it. It's been great. You saw my videos some years ago. I don't even think that you look so young now, bro. Yeah, no, I've grown up quite a lot since I mean, yeah, this channel's almost 10 years old now. So I was 12 or 13 when I made my first animations. I think 12. And from that moment on, I was like, okay, I want to be an animator. And now I just turned 22. So yeah, I've grown up a lot. You also want to do YouTube, but spending 3 weeks to a month for a video is mentally exhausting, plus the results are pretty meh. Yeah, I think that's the tricky part, especially if you already have like something that takes a lot of your creative energy in your life, like a job or something. Then it's really difficult to commit to. I think it's tricky because I know from experience that if you only do videos that you enjoy, and it's like designed only for you, it's probably not going to appeal to as many people. But at the same time, you have to really do it because you enjoy it, otherwise you're going to get sick of it. And YouTube's not for everyone, you know. If you realize actually there are other things you want to do with your time, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I think it's definitely possible, so long as you find a way to do it in a way that you enjoy, you know? Alright, I'm glad. I think I fixed that. Oh, I wanna append the design. Hang on. I'm just gonna go append design. There we go. Just want this guy in here. Yeah, it's looking good. And you do animation from the day you graduated university. So was that 10 years ago? Wow. I am lucky that I found my passion so young. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily like it's not impossible to become a professional animator even if you discover it at a later stage. But I'm glad that I know so many of my friends in high school and such were really struggling to figure out what they wanted to do. And that's fine. I think there's no problem with that. But I am really glad that I didn't have to deal with the anxieties that come with that, It was just, well, I want to be an animator. And I'm really lucky that in the sense that when I decided I wanted to be an animator when I was like 12, I didn't know what that meant, really. Like, I enjoyed doing the little animations that I was doing, but animation doesn't feel anything like what I was experiencing then. And yet every time I, made some discovery about how animation actually is, I was like, oh, I want to do this even more now. So I'm very lucky that at no point did I become like jaded or like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I want to do something else now. In fact, I remember when I first got my job in Auckland, like in 2024, so a couple of years ago, my sister got really annoyed at me because I never got sick of work. Like, I was always like, oh, good thing I've got work tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to that. And she was like, oh, come on, everybody gets sick of work, even if they love it, surely. I think this year I've definitely felt a little bit of burnout here and there, and so that's not been as fun. But I still really love it. If it's not a problem with income, I should come to Asia where I can teach people as a passion too. That'd be nice. Yeah. I grew up in Afghanistan, so I definitely enjoyed coming back to Asia. But I think for now I'm quite happy. I think it depends. Like, at some point, I'd like to get married, start a family, that sort of thing. And then, I'm not going to be the only one making that sort of decision. So I got to hold my plans loosely, but I definitely like to not necessarily live in New Zealand the rest of my life. Though if I do, I'm okay with that too. Somewhat struggling finding what you like because drawing and 3D feel more like a pastime, and circuitous is a mixed feeling. Loving making digital. Mixed feeling. Loving digital circus and simple code, but hating linear circuit. I don't think I fully understood that, but I understand the gist of, like, yeah. I think there's this weird tendency in modern society to try and, like, monetize every hobby. And now, for me, I couldn't do anything as a job except for animation. It had to be animation. But I think there are lots of people out there who really enjoy making art, but if they monetized it, it would, suck the joy out of it. So if that's you, yeah, don't do art as a career. Keep doing art, but just don't do it as a career. Because I think there are two very valid ways to approach, earning money, right? Either you find a job that you enjoy so much that it doesn't even feel like work. That's what I've done. Or you can just find a job that facilitates the lifestyle that you want, And so you could be working some 9-to-5 job that, you're not super passionate about inherently, but you are passionate about the things that it enables you to do with the rest of your life, And I think that's really healthy too, to try and separate who you are versus what you do, Man, only 22. Enjoy your youth first. Yeah, yeah. I should, I know, I was talking to a friend the other day, and they were mentioning about how, their parents were married at their age, right? And they're like, I've only got, like, a limited amount of time of, being young to do the things that young people do before I need to start thinking about, I don't know, the long-term goals. And I was like, personally, a lot of the stuff that people talk about doing in their youth, it doesn't really appeal to me. Like, I've already kind of traveled a lot because of the way I grew up. So traveling the world doesn't really appeal to me at this point. I'm not really I don't drink. I don't like concerts. I don't like a lot of the stuff that youngsters do with their time. And so, the only other thing I can think of is, I should move on with the long-term life goals, getting married, starting a family, that sort of thing. And I'm like, now see, that sounds appealing, because the younger that I can have a child, then that's one more year that I have in my life with that child. And I'm like, I don't want to delay that necessarily. Is there anything to worry about AI stuff? I don't think so. Not in art. I mean, just fundamentally, art is, like, a lot of people are talking about, AI is the future, right? It's gonna be, people are gonna be able to make a whole movie with just a sentence, and maybe, I'm not convinced, but maybe maybe you will be able to generate an entire movie, but who wants to watch it? Art is inherently a conversation between the audience and the author. And if you remove the author, it's not a conversation anymore. And people will be interested at first, but then they'll lose interest, right? I think we already see that with, like, social media, where people get addicted to their, TikTok and Instagram, and if they feel like it's ruining their life. But there's no individual video that's being produced that causes them to feel like that, right? It's more the algorithm that's like, there's no author behind the algorithm. it's just a computer trying to hold up a mirror to you. And so it's kind of like you're in this mirrored cage where you can only interact with yourself. And that's what kind of ruins everything. And I think the logical endpoint of AI is not, oh, I'll be able to create anything super fast by just typing it in. It's the audience will go to something like Netflix, and rather than watching a TV show that's been made by an author, they'll have something that's curated specifically for them and their interests. And maybe at first that'll be interesting, and it might even be addictive, but it won't be art, you know, it won't be something worth watching. And so I think art's always going to be around, even if we start incorporating various AI tools into certain areas. I don't think artists need to actually worry about that. Oh, circuits, right. You love making a transistor and simple code projects, making a counter for an alarm, but dealing with the physics of electric current is a pain. Yeah, so that's exactly right. I feel like there's a lot of things, like, I really enjoy tinkering with Linux. Like, you know, I'll just open the terminal and I'll, like, use NeoVim and I'll do the tutor thing, and I'll say set number and set relative number, and then I'll go through the different tasks so that I can learn this this new interesting way of typing code, you know. But I'm not a programmer. I don't want to actually use NeoVim, so it's definitely not something I want to pursue, but it's fun to do. It's fun to learn that sort of tasks. But animation, on the other hand, I'm all in. I want to do this all the time. So I think it's good to figure out what you want to do as just a hobby and what you want to do as like a profession. I think once I've got this pose, I think we'll end the live stream, but this will take a bit of time. This is quite a dynamic pose. Hey bro, I've made a tool for animators. Can you take a look? It's free for you. How can I send it to you? If you go to the about page of my YouTube channel, it has like the business email thing. So if you just click on that, it'll ask if you're a human, and then you'll see my email and you can send it to me. I'll see that pretty soon. Thanks though, I appreciate it. I'll take a look. Yeah, I'm happy with how this is coming along so far. Just got the email. I'll take a look at that later. Well, if like currently working as a tech artist, just like to get a recommendation from a real artist. All right, wait, hang on. I'm just gonna. I'll take a look now. Got me interested. Downloads, save. Let's open that up. Open. Open with MPV. Whoa. That's really cool. Hang on, I want to show that. I want to just show that off real quick. No, I think because OBS is currently just sharing Blender, it's not. Yeah, okay. Can I? Window, MPV, share. Okay. That's really cool. I mean, it looks really smooth. and really intuitive. I mean, personally, I don't use a touch screen, so I don't know if I would be if I would benefit hugely from that, especially because the Blender Grease Pencil add-on has this really cool feature where if you Alt middle click, it kind of has this timeline scrubbing tool, which I use all the time, and it seems very similar to that. Yeah, that looks really cool though. That's awesome. So did you make that for your job as a tech artist, or was that like a personal project so that you can get more tech artist roles? Oh yeah, it would be really good for the iPad version of Blender. But yeah, that looked really well made. You'll optimize that for non-touch screens and grease pencil properties as well. That'll be really cool. Yeah, no, I'm excited to see how you develop that further. Yeah, it looks really cool. Alright, let's get this. You're doing art tech in a game company, and your job is doing that sort of stuff. Alright, thanks for joining us. Yeah, I'll look forward to talking to you again. Oh no. Did I just cut out for a moment there? Is everything running still? My YouTube page where I'm looking at the chat just stopped. Just closed. Hope everything's okay. Any recommendations for better paid jobs are welcome. Yeah, same. Although actually, I'm actually quite happy at the moment. But yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that tool would make, especially if you're using it on like a touchscreen tablet, like an iPad or a Samsung kind of tablet, that would make Blender really, really cool. Those sort of widget features, I don't know if that's the right word. Alright, I'm so close to finishing this pose. You know, I started live streaming not today, not long after I got home. I really should have eaten something first. Hang on. Okay. We're really getting close now with this pose. Well, I'm gonna save a new version just to be safe. I would hate to lose all that progress. Oh my goodness. I think that's pretty much it. Another great pose done. Oh, I might want to do that hand. Redo the hand. Later. Can I just make it smaller? Yeah, there we go. Alright, we're pretty much there now. We're so close. Alright. That's a great idea. I don't know why. I feel like eating while live streaming is like unprofessional or something. But no, you're right. Maybe next time I'll be able to I'll think about doing both. Alright. There we go. Let's have another look at what we've got so far. Now, I didn't have this in the roughs, but I wonder if this would look better with his head facing this way. Yeah, I think it does. Alright, I think that'll be it for today. I'm really happy with the progress we made. We had a bit of a scare in the middle there with that corrupt file. That is still concerning to me. I am worried about that happening again. But so long as I keep saving new versions, it should be fine. Alright. Let's just take one more look at what we got. Yep. And if we unhide the roughs, we can see what it's gonna be. Oh, it's gonna be good. Alright, thanks everyone for joining. It was a good stream. Alright, I'll see you all again.